Part 1. The calm before the storm, Julian Harker sat in his study, the room dimly lit by the soft glow of a desk lamp. Outside, rain pelted the windows in rhythmic sheets, as if tapping out a code meant only for him. He sipped his whiskey, feeling the heat crawl down his throat and settle somewhere deep in his chest. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Across the hall, in the bedroom, his wife Clarissa slept. Julian could hear the steady rise and fall of her chest through the thin walls, each breath a reminder of what he had built and what he intended to destroy. He had loved her once, or at least he thought he had. But love, he realized, had grown cold, buried beneath resentment, jealousy, and the gnawing weight of secrets. He stood and walked to the window, staring out at the blackened garden. The storm made the world outside appear like a smeared painting. Somewhere beneath that chaos was freedom. That freedom could come at a price, but he'd convinced himself that some prices were worth paying. Part 2. Cracks in the mirror. The first cracks in their marriage were subtle. The forgotten anniversaries, the cold dismissals, the sharp retorts, masked as jokes. Julian had always been the perfectionist, the provider, the one in control. Clarissa, with her sharp tongue and sharper wit, had chipped away at him piece by piece, often unknowingly. But recently, Julian had discovered something: small inconsistencies, hidden bank statements, letters that didn't make sense. She was hiding something, and he could feel it gnawing at him. He recalled the argument 2 nights ago. "You're suffocating me, Julian," she had said, eyes flashing with anger. "I can't live under this." This obsession. Obsession. That word festered in his mind. Was it obsession or vigilance? He couldn't decide anymore. The storm outside mirrored his thoughts. Each crash of thunder felt like a countdown. Each flicker of lightning a reminder that clarity was fleeting. Julian was calm now, more focused than he had been in months. He had made a decision. Part 3. The preparation. Julian moved methodically. He retrieved the tools from the garage, laying them out neatly on the workbench. There was no room for mistakes. Every detail mattered. Gloves, rope, a small hammer. He even rehearsed the steps in his mind, Aubert and Aubert, imagining her waking, panicking, pleading. And finally, silence. As he worked, memories of Clarissa flashed before him, not just the happy ones, but the moments that festered into anger. The lies, the smirks, the subtle betrayals. Julian told himself he was righting a wrong, reclaiming control over a life that had slipped through his fingers. He checked his watch. Midnight approached. The storm outside had grown fiercer, rain hammering the roof with increasing intensity. The night seemed to thicken around him, heavy and suffocating. Perfect. Part 4. The act. Julian entered the bedroom. Clarissa slept on her side, hair spilling across the pillow. A peaceful expression painted on her face. He paused, studying her, noting the rise and fall of her chest, the vulnerability of her position. In that moment, he felt something strange, a flicker of doubt, but he suppressed it. He had come too far. Gently, almost tenderly, he shook her awake. "Clarissa, wake up!" His voice was soft, calm. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion replacing sleep. "Julian, what?" He silenced her with a look, the kind that said there was no turning back. The hammer was in his hand before she fully understood. A sudden, devastating strike. She cried out once, a sharp, startled sound that echoed against the walls, then was gone. Julian felt a cold clarity wash over him. It was done. Part 5. Aftermath. The room was silent, except for the storm. Julian stared at what he had done, the reality slowly sinking in. He had killed the woman he once loved, and now nothing could undo it. Panic, fear, even a strange kind of exhilaration battled for dominance in his mind. He cleaned methodically, wiping fingerprints, disposing of evidence, masking every trace of his crime. He told himself he was a careful man, intelligent, meticulous. No one would suspect him, and yet, as the night wore on, he noticed small things: the way the wind rattled the window, the way shadows seemed to move unnaturally across the floor. The house felt alive in a way it never had before. Ev went to bed exhausted but restless. Sleep, when it came, was fragmented, haunted by whispers and shadows. He dreamed of Clarissa, not peaceful, not asleep, but glaring at him, accusing him, demanding answers he could not give. Part 6. The Spiral. Days passed. Julian maintained a facade of normalcy. He answered calls, attended work, laughed when appropriate. But inside, paranoia festered. He imagined the neighbors watching, the police investigating. Every creak of the floor, every wind gust, became a potential threat. Then the dreams intensified. Clarissa's voice would echo through the halls, faint but insistent. Doors would slam, objects move slightly, shadows stretch unnaturally across his walls. Julian tried to rationalize the guilt, stress, exhaustion, but the feeling grew undeniable. She was still there, watching, waiting. His mental state deteriorated. He barely ate, barely slept. Each day felt like an eternity. Each night, a descent into terror. Julian realized something he had never admitted before. He didn't just kill her body. He had unleashed something else. Something that would never leave him. Part 7. Confrontation with reality. One night, Julian awoke to find the bedroom empty. Clarissa's body was gone. Panic surged through him. He searched the house frantically, calling her name, checking closets, the basement, even outside in the storm. Nothing. Then he saw her in the hallway mirror. Her reflection, pale and hollow-eyed, smiled at him. She didn't move, didn't speak, but the smile was enough. Julian felt his sanity crack completely. The house itself seemed to conspire with her. Walls narrowing, shadows lengthening, the storm outside matching the chaos in his mind. He realized the truth. Some acts leave a mark, a stain that no cleaning, no hiding can erase. He had invited darkness into his life, and it had taken residence. Part 8. The end or the beginning. Julian Harker vanished shortly afterward. Neighbors reported that the house seemed abandoned, yet sometimes lights flickered at odd hours, and a figure was seen pacing behind rain-streaked windows. Some say if you stand near the house on a stormy night, you can hear a man's frantic whispers, a woman's faint laughter, and the creak of floors that no one walks on. And in that house, the story continues. Julian's mind shattered, his soul trapped in a cycle of fear and regret, eternally haunted by the wife he killed and the darkness he unleashed. The final truth lingered. No matter what he did, no matter how far he ran, some sins never sleep and some ghosts never forgive.